Good evening and welcome to World Bulletin. I'm Anderson Cooper, and tonight we're diving into a story that could reshape the way you live, work, and spend in the coming year. Tonight, we're tracking a story with massive implications for your wallet, your job, and the entire US economy. The decisions being made right now are not just numbers on a spreadsheet. They're about the prices you pay, the products you find on shelves, and the stability of your financial future. China has just unveiled a staggering $10 trillion trade initiative aiming to bypass American tariffs and rewrite the rules of global commerce. This is not just a headline, it's a seismic shift in the world's economic balance. But what does this mean for you and your family? First, let's set the stage and understand how we got here. In 2025, the US faces a new era of protectionism. The average tariff rate on imports has soared to 18.6%. Levels not seen since 1933. This dramatic increase marks a turning point, echoing the trade wars of the past. This isn't a minor tweak, it's a reversal of decades of open market policy. For years, America championed free trade, but now the pendulum has swung in the opposite direction. These tariffs now touch nearly every sector, from car parts to electronics, groceries to clothing, raising costs across the board. Businesses are scrambling to adapt and consumers are feeling the pinch. Major trading partners have retaliated, sparking a global trade war and creating deep uncertainty for businesses and investors. The ripple effects are being felt worldwide. China's $10 trillion plan is a direct response, building new trade routes and partnerships that sidestep the US entirely, forging stronger ties with Europe, Africa, and South America. They're constructing a parallel economic system where American tariffs don't matter, investing in infrastructure and technology to ensure their goods keep flowing. This sets up a monumental clash between two economic superpowers, each vying for influence and control over the future of global trade. As China builds a world without American leadership, the immediate impact is already being felt. Every time you shop, every time you check your bank account, and every time you wonder why things cost more. Let's see how these sweeping changes are hitting your wallet and what you can expect in the months ahead. Tariffs aren't just political, they hit home every time you shop, whether you realize it or not. Every trip to the store, every item you pick up, is affected by these hidden costs. The Budget Lab confirms tariffs have driven a 1.8% jump in consumer prices this year, making everyday goods more expensive for everyone. This increase might sound small, but it adds up quickly across all your purchases. For the average household, that's a $2,400 loss in purchasing power in 2025 alone, a significant hit to the family budget that can't be ignored. That's money lost to higher prices on everyday necessities, from groceries to cleaning supplies, forcing families to make tough choices about what they can afford. Essential items like clothes and shoes have seen some of the steepest hikes, putting extra strain on working families who are already stretching every dollar. Tariffs on specific goods create disproportionate challenges for those who can least afford it, hitting low-income households the hardest and widening the gap between rich and poor. The pain isn't limited to shopping. These higher costs ripple through the economy, affecting small businesses and local communities as well. With less money left after necessities, families cut back on dining out, entertainment, and big purchases, leading to quieter restaurants and fewer sales of appliances or electronics. This drop in spending slows the entire economy, leading to fewer jobs and less growth in local businesses. The consumer squeeze, combined with China's bold new strategy, is reshaping America's economic growth and changing the way we all live and work. Next, let's look at how this is affecting the nation's GDP. Stay with us as we break down the numbers and what they mean for your future. Tariffs are now acting as a significant brake on the US economy, slowing down activity across multiple sectors. According to new projections from the Budget Lab, GDP growth will be 0.5 percentage points lower in both 2025 and 2026 than it would have been without these tariffs. That's billions of dollars lost, enough to noticeably slow business expansion and investment nationwide, affecting both large corporations and small businesses alike. The damage isn't just short-term. The study forecasts a permanent 0.4% reduction in the overall size of our economy, meaning the effects will linger for years to come. Even after the initial shock fades, the US economy won't return to its previous growth path, leaving a lasting scar on our economic potential. Disrupted supply chains and reduced investment are locking in a less prosperous future, making it harder for American businesses to compete globally. Meanwhile, China's trade deal is designed to exploit this weakness, building a powerful economic bloc that deliberately excludes the US from key markets. As more nations join China's sphere of influence, America risks falling into deeper economic isolation, losing access to vital trade opportunities. The projected slowdown is a stark warning. The costs of this trade strategy are mounting rapidly, with consequences that reach every corner of the country. Intended to protect American industry, tariffs are now dragging down the entire economy, hurting the very workers and businesses they were meant to help. The human cost is clearest in the labor market, where layoffs and job insecurity are becoming more common. Let's take a closer look at what all this means for American jobs and how workers across the country are being affected. When the economy slows, workers feel it first. The new tariffs are already raising unemployment. More Americans are struggling to find work. Companies, squeezed by higher costs and retaliatory tariffs, are cutting jobs and freezing hiring. Payroll employment is shrinking, a classic sign of a cooling economy. Uncertainty and rising costs make businesses hesitant to expand their workforce. China's trade pact could worsen this, as demand for American-made goods drops in key markets. Export-heavy sectors like manufacturing and agriculture are especially vulnerable. The tariffs meant to save jobs may be causing more layoffs instead. This chain reaction is creating anxiety for millions of workers. Not every industry is affected equally. Some are weathering the storm, others are sinking. Let's look at who's winning and losing. The impact of tariffs isn't equal. There are winners and losers. US manufacturing is seeing a modest boost as tariffs make American products more competitive at home. Some factories are ramping up output to replace imports, but for every winner there are several losers. Construction is contracting, squeezed by higher costs for steel and lumber and weaker demand. Agriculture is hit hardest. Retaliatory tariffs target American exports like soybeans and pork. China's new trade deal will cut US farmers out, sourcing from South America and Africa instead. Rural economies dependent on exports are at risk of collapse. Tariffs pick winners and losers, deepening economic and political divides. Even the government's revenue gains from tariffs come with a catch. Let's break down the fiscal impact. High tariffs are projected to bring in $2.7 trillion for the US Treasury over the next decade. Supporters tout this as a major fiscal win, money for debt or new programs without raising taxes. But the story isn't so simple. As tariffs slow the economy, corporate profits and wages stagnate, shrinking income tax revenue. The net gain is eroded by these dynamic losses. China's trade strategy could make things worse, as US companies lose access to global markets. The government's balance sheet is caught between direct tariff income and indirect losses from a shrinking economy. The true fiscal impact is far less certain than the headline numbers suggest. The trade-off: short-term revenue at the cost of long-term economic health. But who's paying the highest price? The answer reveals a deeply unequal burden. The burden of tariffs isn't shared equally. The Budget Lab finds the effects are regressive. Lower-income families are hit hardest. Essentials like food and clothing have seen the biggest price hikes. For wealthy families, a 1.8% cost increase is minor. For those living paycheck to paycheck, it's devastating. The $2,400 annual loss in purchasing power is a much bigger blow to low-income households. Tariffs act as a tax that hurts the most vulnerable. China's trade deal could deepen this inequality, as job losses mount in export sectors. Manufacturing gains may not offset losses elsewhere, widening the gap between rich and poor. As America doubles down on tariffs and China builds a new trade order, the costs are rising, especially for those who can least afford it. Is the price of this trade war worth it? Thank you for watching.